Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to the second transfer rumour show in about a week, and there's some very interesting ones here today. Daz is here as usual. He's going to give us a rating between 1 and 10. Again, for those who are new, Daz hasn't a clue what rumours I'm bringing up. There's one, I would say, very possible controversial one right at the end. Of course, I'm leaving that to the end, haven't I? So we'll get straight into it, Daz. So this one, Darragh Markey, out of contract at Drogheda United. He's been with the club now, I think 4 seasons, I believe. He's been linked with a move up north to Derry City. How would you see that one?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Darragh Markey, he's a very hard-working player. He always gives 100%. And he's been in that Drogheda team for quite a long time. He's really a part of the furniture there now. You could see kind of just hard to picture the team without him. He's always one of the first on that team sheet, arguably. It's never really misses a beat for Drogheda, and I'm sure they'd be sad to see him go. Um, in terms of Derry, I actually wasn't expecting that one, to be honest with you, because he'd be moving. He's not going. I don't know if he's living. I don't know where he's living, but if he
Dublin,
was
I
going in,
believe.
yeah, like he's probably gonna have to move if he's going for there. I don't think he's that old anyway. What would he be? 20,
27, 28, I'd
26?
say.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking, I'll check. But 27, 28, I'd say.
yeah. But I think with Derry, at the start of last season, we've seen a lot of the issues was too many individualistic players, and I think Darragh Markey is quite a team player, and I think that's a quality that Derry need, and I think a lot of Derry fans probably agree with that. Um, I actually see him. This is just me. I see Dublin clubs kind of more in for him. Really, I think he would go to a Dublin club before Derry. Maybe that's just kind of how I see it. Well, I really wasn't expecting that one. In terms of where he'd fit in at Derry, would he start though? Is another question. Um, it's hard. It's a hard one to know. Derry have got a lot of players in his position, I think, but I think they're going to be looking to move on a few players as well in the summer window, and obviously they have an aging squad with certain players are quite old at the other end of 30 maybe,
Well,
but
Darragh Markey,
Darren
I just
Markey,
checked, is 28, so he'd be a child in the Derry team.
he'd be a child, yeah, he'd be a
Only
child,
joking,
right,
by the
yeah,
way.
yeah. He'd be a U player coming in
Yeah.
there, yeah. No, Darren Markey, I'm going to put this 5 out of 10 key. I do think he's going to go to a Dublin club first, because he won't have to move. Just loads of Dublin clubs around. Even Dundalk coming up might go in for him if they get themselves sorted out.
Don't
But
say that to the doc.
I I'm only messing, of course
Anyway.
not.
The Drogheda fans are
But
looking at this going,
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. 5 out of 10. I think he's going to go to Dublin club first, or probably stay at Drogheda. But look, the lower of Europe is there. If Derry come in for him, he could very easily go, and he's out of contract. 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, Darragh Markey to Derry C. An interesting one. There is a couple of interesting ones today, and this one might surprise a few people as well. And we're staying with Drogheda. Mark Coyle from Shelbourne to Drogheda United, another player who's out of contract and seems to be a bit better player now at Shelbourne, Daz. Under Duff this season first, and now under Joey O'Brien. Now, he played in Europe the other night at centre back and came off, but I believe he picked up a knock. But Mark Coyle's known as a midfielder. Of course, he's known for his time at this club, Finn Harps, and he was very good last year in Shelbourne winning the title. But he's lost his place essentially in midfield. And when he's played, it's mainly been as a centre back in a back three, but he's not guaranteed there either. Out of contract, he's the type of player actually, really combative midfielder you could really see actually at Drogheda United, I would
And he's very
suggest.
versatile as well. He can move around positions, like you said. He can play either side of the back three. He can drop into midfield. He can go box to box, so he can hold the midfield hole. Or
I
he's
think
been
he's much
quite,
better personally in midfield. I think he's way better as a
yeah,
midfielder, personally. Yeah.
that's his position. Central defense midfield. That's where he plays. It's where he's good at. And yeah, combative, strong. He's powerful. He works hard. I thought he was quite good in that Shelbourne team
Yeah.
on the lead up to the win, but obviously, like you said, he's kind of lost his place this year, and I could, like you said though too, could really see him at Drogheda. He kind of really fits the profile of player they would go for. Strong, determined, works hard, honest, gives 100% every game. He's not a luxury player, but by God, you'll know he's on the field and he'd give you 100% every game. And that's the type of players that Drogheda go for and that Bowes used to go for. But I'm a big fan of players like that. It'll always give you a 6 out of 10. Don't might necessarily have too many 7 or 8s, but it definitely won't give you a 2 or 3 out of 10 every week. I think if you're a club like Drogheda, that's what you need. Every club needs a player like Kiley. And at Harps too, he was quite good as well. I thought he was quite a
Yeah,
standout
very
player
good.
for them in midfield.
Yeah.
And obviously he earned his move to Shelbourne. I know he's lost his position. I do think though, it's quite likely because if you look at other teams in the league, say for Bowes, they don't need a midfielder. For Rovers, they don't need a midfielder. Then he's on Shelbourne. And then you're looking at Derry, they don't need another central defensive midfielder. Really, they don't really need one. I suppose the next logical place for him to go probably would be Drogheda. Out of all them teams, if he's actually going to go in and play, which he would play, I think
I think he'd get in the side,
I
yeah.
think he'd get in. I think he'd actually force his way in there. And I think I could see him, the team kind of playing around him. I could see him really slotting in there, and I think he'd be a very solid signing for Drogheda if they could pull it off. And I think they will because like we're going to be linking a lot of Drogheda players because a lot of them are out of contract this year. If you've had a look, so I think they will be doing a bit of reshaping, and I think this one is quite likely to happen. I'm going to put as an 8 out of 10 for all them reasons. I think it's going to happen, and look, he'd be a great signing for Drogheda, and I'm sure if you're a Shelbourne fan, you probably would want to try and keep him because he is a good squad player, but at the end of the day, he wants to play football, and I think going to Drogheda would be a great move for him. So 8 out of 10.
Right, so Mark Coyle to Drogheda United, 8 out of 10. Now, another interesting one, and this was probably pending on Waterford winning the playoff relegation promotion playoff, in which they did 2-1 against Bray Wanderers. But Killian Brouder, the big centre half for Galway United, out of contract as well, linked with a move to Waterford. Now, this would be another big blow to Galway because Galway, there's a lot of players that look like they're leaving Galway. But there's not many word about incomings at the moment, which is always a bit concerning, isn't it? But Killian Brouder is a big leader at the back. He's plays in the back three. He's a central figure in the back three at Galway. Now, Waterford for me need to really improve their defence big time. I mentioned that in a video recently. And Brouder is the type of player I think that would. He's, as I said, a real leader at the back as well. He can navigate the players in front of him as well. Like he's just very good at organising the team around them, I think. So how would you see that one? Be a massive blow for Galway, but a massive plus for Waterford, and both clubs obviously finished tied in the league this year as well. So it would be Waterford making a statement there if they took him, basically, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think firstly, congratulations to Waterford last night. They got through. It was a tough game. The pitch was in
Very tough.
bits. Bray gave it up to them, and commiserations to Bray. But Waterford remains, and look, like you said, I think up to this point, a lot of their incomings and outgoings in terms of recruitment all did right on last night of who they can bring in, who they might bring in. And Killian Brouder is 6'3", 6'4", tall, powerful, strong defender, old school, gets it out of the way, puts his body on the line. He's been in the league quite a long time now, and
He's been with
I
Galway
think
quite a long time.
he's been forward like a long time now, and
Yeah.
unfortunately for Galway, it has just been outgoings, no incomings at the minute. And I do think he's a player who's going to move on from Galway. I also think Killian Brouder could probably play with, bar the top three, probably get into every other side in the country, in my opinion. I think he's that good. I think he's quite a good defender. He's seasoned in the league. He's reliable. He's dependent. Um, you know what you're going to get with him. And I think Waterford for sure need to reshape their defence. Their defence was terrible last season. It was probably one of the worst in the league. To some of the goals they conceded, it was just brutal. And if they hadn't had Ammon up front, I really think they probably would have finished bottom. And
It would have been closer to Cork, that's for sure.
it would have been closer to Cork.
Absolutely.
Maybe not bottom, but it would have been absolutely
Mm.
close to the Cork. And
Mm.
like, there's a lot of. I think they will have to get 2 or 3 defenders in. It's a big change you're going to need. And I think going on to Killian Brouder, he fits that. He fits what they need. Someone who knows the league, who's experienced, who's stayed up, who's been in them relegation battles, who climbed out relegation battles to kind of finish above the relegation zones with his teams. Years of experience in the league, knows how to defend. He kind of brings everything to the back line that Waterford currently don't have.
Yeah.
Like
Also, bear in mind,
Darragh,
Waterford generally. Now, Waterford are going to pick up a new manager, so they might change their system, but they have been playing three at the back quite a lot this season.
yeah,
And
three to
Brouder
back, and
plays there for Galway, you know?
yeah, he does. Yeah, but I think Brouder's still very good in a two centre back system as well. He's played in that before as well. I think he can play anywhere back there. And I like as I said, if you look at Waterford's back four, Radkowski, Leahy, Ryan
Horton.
Burke, Horton, like they need to bring in that's actually a whole exposed back line. That's a good start for you.
That's the problem.
It's the problem. That is the problem. Yes, that is the problem. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I could see this one quite high, Keith. Again, if you're looking at the top three teams, top four teams, they don't overly need centre backs. Overly, I think if they're gonna
Mm.
maybe, but I don't think he'll get in and play and start. Waterford will be a fresh start for him and will be a solid sign for them. I think he's everything they need. I'm actually going to put this one high as well. I'm going to put it 8 out of 10. Obviously, he'll have to move as well. He'll have to move. That's a big thing in our league.
Mm.
Moving around. I think that can play a lot in the transfers of the where players go and why certain deals don't happen at times because of geographical locations.
Yeah.
Family
He's
having to
from
move.
Limerick, but I'm guessing he lives around Galway because he's been there for so long. Like,
Yeah, he
yeah,
probably lives in that region,
yeah,
right? Somewhere in between. He used to play on Limerick years ago. I think it was
I
before
think so.
Galway.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, 8 out of 10, and I think he'd be a solid sign for them and a great starting place to rebuild their backline.
Mm. Interesting stuff. So, Brouder to Waterford FC out of 10, says Daz. The next one's an interesting one. Alex Nolan, Cork City to Sligo Rovers. The reason why it's interesting as well is because he actually agreed to join Cork City last year ahead of Sligo Rovers. Now, a lot of that was down to Tim Clancy, who was the manager at Cork. Tim Clancy had him at St. Patrick's Athletic, so he followed Tim basically to Cork City. Now, Tim left the job, didn't he? At Cork City, so he's out of contract again. Cork were relegated. I think he had a really good second half or so of the season. Got some goals as well. There's talent there in Nolan. I think it's the consistency he has to find, but he does have real talent. Like he really is a good player. If he can find a club where he can just fit and really, you know, get that potential that he has, would be fantastic. And Sligo Rovers often do that. I think them and Drogheda United are a little bit like that. Similarly, where players they get the best out of players. You know, he'd be on the left wing for Sligo if he played there, I'd say. Ryan O'Kane was there, but he was on loan and got back to Shell, so they're looking for someone in there. Nolan could be the man to Sligo Rovers. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I think firstly, out of the whole country, in fairness to Darragh and Sligo, they do get the best out of players.
Mm,
You look at some players that went there who weren't getting in the clubs in the past 3, 4 years, shine at these clubs.
mm,
I think they're very good at unearthing gems as well. Like an unknown player comes to the
mm,
league and they play
mm.
brilliant.
Yeah.
You look at the likes of Romeo Parks, who went to Sligo that time. No one knew him, brilliant player.
Mm,
And there's loads of examples. Obviously, Johnny Kenny came there and played really well as well.
mm,
There's loads, but that's two things them clubs are good at. And I think if he's going to go to any club, this is just what I think now. I think he will go to either Sligo or Waterford or Drogheda. I think he'll go to one of them three because they'll suit how he plays. The expectations is slightly less than the rest of the clubs in the league. He's got a better chance of getting into these teams than say anyone from fourth, fifth upwards.
yeah.
He needs to play at his age. He needs to start getting into teams now and playing and find a home. He needs to settle in, I think. That can be a big issue for some players with talent that just can't settle and then they can't get their game going and they're in and out of the side. We've seen it happen over the years with certain players who are really good and then they fall out of the game. We don't want to see that happen to anyone. Um, in terms of him going to Sligo, that's quite an interesting one. Sligo again, I think we'll be looking for players in that position.
Mm.
They'll have a lot of outgoings as well.
I don't think they'll
It,
have
it
as many outgoings though as they've had in previous years. Now they've let some players go already, but they're players you feel like weren't getting in the side.
they weren't
I
getting in. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
they'd
think
be
they
moved
lose
on.
too many first team type players. Possibly Elding, but that's different. You get a good
That's
deal for
different.
Elding.
He's a standout. He's an exceptional standout talent. I think Elding
If
will
he
be
was
gone,
at
unfortunately.
most clubs in Ireland, he'd probably be moving. We're talking about moving to England here, which is a different, or not England,
Different.
abroad in his case, which is a different scenario. Do you know what I mean? But they're not going to be losing too many players that they don't want to lose this season to other clubs, which is brilliant for them, position for them to be in.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose then the other way of looking at it too, though, is will he stay at Cork? Because with the way they're going to reshape the team, They're going to try and go up as champions again. They're going to try and put a cup run in. He could be one of the main lads next season, and he could, bring them on and win a trophy.
I'd be very
He could,
surprised if he does, though, personally.
yeah, yeah. Well, it is something more to think about. He could
Yep.
stay because I do think some players will stay because I early predictions. I think Cork will win Division One next year. Who knows? Who knows? Obviously, they've a lot of work to do in terms of recruitment, where they're at, and all that. But you would put them down as a strong contender. Plus, he will want to play in the highest division possible to him. So, if you look at it from that perspective, he probably will move on. And I think Sligo or Waterford are the ones in shoe-ins. I'm going to put a 7 out of 10. I think it's quite likely to happen. He will probably be on the bench to start with if he goes there, but he'll probably force himself in, or he'll make a lot of appearances for them. I think he'd be a solid enough signing for them too, and they know what they're going to get with him. 7 out of 10. I think it's quite reasonable. You're giving me a lot of ones this time that are quite likely to happen.
Alex Nolan to Sligo Rovers, yeah, from Cork City, 7 out of 10, says Daz. Now, this one might throw a spanner in the works. It certainly would if it happened.
Here we
It's
go.
an interesting one, but St. Patrick's Lady captain Joe Redmond to Shelbourne.
Oh no,
Would you
no,
believe?
no, 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 no.
Now, Joe
This,
Redmond
this,
is, as we know, captain of Pats, obviously, but a Pats man through and through. However, he's also a player and a man, I would suggest, that is very ambitious. And who's to say that he's not getting a little bit, that things are getting a
Fancy.
bit stale, let's say, at Pats, because I'm sure Joe Redmond is a defender that's good enough to be at a team that's challenging for the
He's
league
one of the
title.
best in the league. He's
You
one
know
of the
what I
best
mean? It's as
defenders.
simple as
Yeah,
that.
he's
Now, how many years does a player like that go at a club without challenging for a league title, without saying, you know, where do I go from here, basically? Now, he does have a year left in
yeah.
his contract, which is a big thing. But Shelbourne do look like a club that are going places. They won the league last year. They're feeling strong this year. A lot of people are suggesting they may well be title contenders next year. They're not saying that about Pats. Does Joe Redmond go in another year with Pats with the kind of same kind of, will we get into Europe? May we not get into Europe, etc., etc. It's an interesting one, but a move to Shells, being a Patsman through and through, would be seen as a strange one. But as I said, ambition can come into it as well, Daz. How have you seen that one?
Well, what I will say is there is no loyalty in the game. Danny Grant has a Bows tattoo on him, and he's with Rovers. So there's no loyalty in the game. So I wouldn't be holding on to sentimental players
You're going to be
anymore.
singing that song though on Sunday, though.
That,
Danny
yeah, I
Grant.
will be. I will be. Come on, Rovers. Come on. Unfortunately, we need them to win. But sure, look, that's the way. Such is life as a Bows fan. But Joe Redmond to Shelbourne. I think, firstly, transfers aside, he would really improve that Shelbourne backline. He would bring in experience. He'd bring in leadership. He'd bring in know-how. He's a very good organizer. I think he is left-footed. Am I right in saying that? That he's
No, he's
left-footed.
right footed.
He's right foot. He's just good with both then, but I thought he was left footed. He's already at passing the ball. He can clear it when he has to. He would slot in to any team in this league. Anyone.
Getting the
He
Rovers
would he
team, in
would
my
get in.
opinion, as well.
Yeah, he'd get into any team, and I'm pretty sure everyone in this league would have him and would start. He'd move into the starting position. There'd be no sitting on the bench, no stuff. He'd be in. He'd be starting. I think if you look at that Pats team, it's an utter shambles that they didn't finish in the European spot. It's me and Keith were talking about that during the week, that it's a shambles that it didn't. And obviously that's a video, that's a story for another day. But they really should have, and they didn't. And they're going to miss out in Europe now. And does he move is the question. Like you
But he's
said,
there a number of years, Daz. I know he's won a couple of cups, and it's great to win the cups, but I always say winning a cup is no. It doesn't mean you're the best team in the country, etc. They haven't challenged for the league in any serious way in those 4 years, and that's
no, they
fine
haven't.
at the beginning. That's fine at the beginning when he comes into the team. He's still a younger player now, but mid-20s now as well. And as I said, at some point, I mean, if Pats keep finishing in these type of positions, like you're just going to feel like you're going through the motions. Like I'm sure he wants to win the big prizes and challenge for the big prizes. I know
Ah,
I
yeah,
would.
of course. Like who wouldn't want to be? And he is a Pats man through and through, like you said. But as I said, though, that loyalty is gone. I think it's
It's not
not
even a
in
loyalty thing,
football anymore.
Daz. It can be an ambition thing as well. Does he stay at Pats just for the sake of staying at Pats as well if he feels like the club aren't going anywhere? I'm not saying he
The only
does
thing,
think that, by the way. I'm just saying we're putting
yeah,
out little
yeah. Look,
scenarios here.
that's it. And I think then, apart from all of this, then we have to look at the paperwork side of things. There's a year in his contract. Is there going to be a fee paid? If so, how
He
much
does
would
have
the
a year
fee
in his
be?
contract, so that's where the difficulty will come in. But I
This,
would
this,
suggest
this,
he's probably not going to sign a new contract.
no, probably not. And look, they probably were going to want to cash in on him then, and let one of the best players in the league go for free. And I think it's kind of hard to put a figure on it, but I think
Mm.
Shelbourne probably would pay a fee for him. Am I right? Who was that? Someone paid for Brandon Kavanagh there a few years ago. I remember we were saying that was mad.
Derry
It never
City,
happened.
wasn't it? Was it
It
Derry
was it
City?
was
Yeah, it was Derry
Derry.
City that time. Yeah,
Obviously
yeah, yeah.
Derry have a lot more money than Well, then again, Shells have millions now
Yeah,
from
yeah,
getting
yeah.
in the conference. So there is funds there. Like they could offer X amount of K firm, and then Pat to go, right, you know what, that's actually a good enough offer. We'll take it. And then they could use that to bring the next best player in the league to come into them. Who knows? That could be on the cards. What he wasn't expecting this one is the fact that he has a year in his contract. He's a past man through and through. It's Shelbourne. They have money. They could spend it. There's so many moving factors in this transfer. It's not straightforward, really.
And it
It's
wouldn't look
hard.
good from Pat's point of view to let
No,
one of
no,
their best players
no,
go to
geez, no.
Shelbourne, by
And
the way.
that fan base would hate it if he left the Shelbourne. I know the Dublin club, a rival. They're strengthening a rival as well.
Mm.
Like they're making Shelbourne better. Shelbourne will be competing next year, by the way. I strongly think that. I think they're a very good side.
Yeah.
They've got balance throughout the team. Joey O'Brien is a fantastic manager. They've all bought into what he's doing. A lot of us thought it would go downhill when Duffer went. It hasn't been the case. He's rejuvenated that team. It might became a bit stale
Mm.
the last season with Duffer, but by God, Joey O'Brien has guided that team really well, and Shells will be a terrific side next season.
Mm.
I think Joe Redmond wants to be a part of that, and I think Pats will accept an offer. And let's be real, Pats probably need a clear out. They're gone stale. There's some players there that are, without naming names, that are just going through the motions, that are not playing as good as they should be playing. Pats need change all around, I think, in every position nearly. A defender, a midfielder, a striker, a winger, they need change. And you might as well get money for him, move him on, and bring somebody else in and start fresh, I think. In regards to putting a number on it, due to all the moving factors, I'm going to put it at a 6. I
Ooh,
think
quite high.
it's hard. It's hard because you just don't really see a fee being played in the league. It's not really something happens. But the thing is, now it's possible. If we were
Means of
having this
money.
conversation, yeah, if we were having this conversation 5 or 6 years ago, where he'd had a year in his deal, I'd say no chance. He's there till the following window at least. Whether he wants to go or not, he's there. But that's not the case now. And I think Shelbourne might offer money. They might offer a few pound for him, and Pats will probably accept it. And you don't look. I suppose to finish up, at the end of the day, you don't want to have an influential figure in your dressing room unhappy. It rubs off everybody in the wrong way. You can't have that, especially when there's off season out and there's months to sort it out and bring somebody else in. Now would be the time to do it if they're going to do it. So 6 out of 10, and I think he'd probably be. I'm going to make a statement now. If it happens, he'd probably be signing another season.
Ooh, interesting. Nice way to sign that off, Daz. Anyway, but Daz says Joe Redmond to Shelbourne 6 out of 10. Let us know what you think in the comments. Would that one surprise you? A few interesting ones. Coyle to Drogs fans, let us know what you think. Brouder to Waterford. Galway fans, let us know what you think as well, because there's a lot of rumours and about players leaving the club, big players leaving the club. Not many rumours of players coming in, which is always a bit of a concern. But we'll leave it there. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks, Daz, for coming on. Fair play to you. Brilliant as always. Thank you.
And come on, the Rovers. We need Euro. I'll never be saying it again. Come on, Rovers.
Cheers.